Thank you, Colby Smith with the FT. You've described calls for widespread tariffs as deeply misguided, and the IMF today has warned that such policies will dent global growth. Can you elaborate more on the near-term economic impact of these policies and over a longer time horizon? How concerned are you about the potential impact of the dollar status as the world's reserve currency?
So, do we live in a simulation or don't we?
Good start. Yeah.
That one is, brilliant. I got it via Matty Sets. He just posted it, and I thought it was like a brilliant opening. Last time we also opened with something about money,
Yeah.
with the interruption, the broadcasting. We're also gonna sort of go back to that a little bit. I'll try not to do it too much. But this is about simulation. We actually had two guests. One was Johnny Law, but he can't make it because his daughter came by with a surprise visit. And Gerald, he's still watching the game, but he will jump into the show later. Where to start? I think I'm gonna just sort of lay out my own theory. But first, how are you doing,
I'm
Sid?
doing good. Did panic not last week, this week, the big drop came in because of
Oh yeah.
the war thing. I thought the world war started. I sold all my tokens. Yeah.
Seriously?
I thought, because the attack on Iran, it was like, yeah, this is the beginning, but that was just a firework. Nobody got harmed. It was nothing. So, and it bounced back. But I literally thought that, okay, war has started, Bitcoin is going to 30-40K. So I was like, I'm gonna say, yeah.
Wow.
Now I'm regretting
But,
it.
but didn't you buy back?
I
in,
did
or?
buy back, but at the higher
Oh.
price.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was an expensive mistake.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
but I was already in the profit, so the profit has gone down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, better safe than
Yeah.
sorry, of course. But in my opinion, I think I think they'll try to rein in potential mega war. Not only because it's quite devastating,
Yeah.
of course, and an uncontrolled
But
event,
I
but also
read that BlackRock during that big drop, BlackRock bought for around $350 million worth of Bitcoin.
yeah. So my whole take on sort of the conflict in the Middle East might be a little bit strange, but and then also with Ukraine, right? Because Ukraine now has these long distance missiles that they can fire into
Yeah.
Russia, and they're sort of signaling that they might sort of use them, and they sort of got the go ahead to do it. So my sort of theory about the whole thing is that the powers that want to be,
Mhm.
they like tension, right? They need more and more tension in order to keep printing money. So they like conflict, but they like it to a certain extent, and they don't want it to get out of control. But they want to keep sort of the pressure on there in order to influence markets. And just before all the tension started, China printed like a gigantic amount of
Yeah.
money. And I think they sort of, and that's when the tension started. And I think they did it to sort of take off the booster, China's booster, because basically it's a money booster,
Yeah.
right? That China activated. And because the tension sort of, they activated the tension in order to sort of limit the effect of China's booster on the economy, because otherwise crypto would have been much higher than it is now. And China uses crypto as like a piggy bank.
Yeah.
A piggy bank.
Yeah, but with the latest BRICS currency announcement, they're launching their currency on blockchain. So I see a big future now. I don't know when, but I see everything is going to the moon and all the fiat are going to shit. That's what I see in the
Yeah, but Sid, that's not a very original take. I mean, everybody in crypto believes
No,
that, I think.
but looking at the current situation, that's what I'm saying. The way BRICS is launching, all the countries are united against fiat currency. And I
Yeah.
think it's good because I hate fiat currency. And then this whole war thing, I think the only person who's getting benefit out of it is Donald Trump, because
Yeah.
every time
Yeah.
there is a bad war or bad situation in Middle East, people hate the current administration. That benefits Donald Trump, and the chances of Donald Trump are like 70% to win, in my opinion, right now. It's not 50-50 anymore, but Donald Trump is very high,
No, no,
especially after Joe
he's,
Rogan's
he's way
podcast. Did
ahead.
you see that?
No, I saw fragment
Oh, I saw the
snippets,
whole
but
thing.
it looked good.
It's just like Donald Trump is doing amazing right now. So if he wins, we all know that JD wins and they will make Bitcoin go up so much.
Oh yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, Trump might not know anything about crypto, or at least very little, but his running mate
Yeah.
does, and the people that he's connected to, Elon
Yeah.
Musk, does know a lot about Dogecoin, by the way,
Yeah.
but also a lot about other cryptos.
I won't bet on Dogecoin.
Yeah, just to tie it back to the
Yeah.
simulation theory,
Yeah.
and then the Department of Government Efficiency from Elon
Mhm.
Musk is Deutsch. I mean, you can't make this shit up.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see how it plays out. So let's see. Super excited for election. We'll, we'll
Yeah, and also about the elections next week, because it's next week
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
right? The 5th of
Yeah.
November. We're gonna do a special Bitcoin live coverage of the US elections. It is not part of the bigger picture. It's like just a
Yeah.
separate
It's just
occasion.
election coverage. I don't even remember the time, but we will announce it properly.
Yeah, so for the people watching, that will be a lot of fun. I think it will be historical. It already is, and I think it will get really crazy. I got some really interesting stuff also to show and talk about for that one. But we could just as well use it for this one because it's really crazy. But anyway, so sort of, I think they sort of ratchet up the tension in order to have an excuse to print more money, but also to dampen the effect of China's money printing on crypto, right? Because China wants crypto to go
Yeah.
up, because that's sort of their that's their briefer, that creates breathing
And to be
room
honest,
for their economy.
the pump will be overnight. It will be in one night, it will go up. Like 1 or 2 days, you will see like 50% increase somehow.
Yeah, and crypto is very sensitive to these conflicts, and gold is also very sensitive to these conflicts, because gold is going up, and some say gold has to stop going up before crypto can go up,
Yeah.
right? Because they're sort of in tandem with each other. So and like you say, BlackRock is using these conflicts in order to scoop up more Bitcoin, right? And so it's just, but they don't want it to get out of control, right?
Yeah.
That's my impression. So they're reigning in Israel. The Biden administration has said, like, you get weapons, but don't go crazy. But Israel has to save face or whatever. So they did sort of strike on
Yeah.
Iran
Also,
a little.
actually, is way more impressive than I imagined, because the videos I saw, their air defense system stopped majority of the missiles. So that was something new. So Russia is arming Iran, by the way. So, and their
Yeah.
system is like, I think it was better than Iron Dome, because in the attack when Iran did to Israel, a lot of them gone through, hit the land. Here, I didn't see a single one on the videos. I know the one airbase was hit, but other than that, in the city areas surrounding of the city, I didn't see any of them falling to the ground. So that is new. That okay, Russia is building some really cool shit. It's not Iran's air defense; it was Russians.
Yeah. So where are we gonna start? Because I think we have.
Let's start with your simulation theory.
Yeah. So I got a lot of clips again. I'm searching. Oh yeah, here it is. So I think I'm gonna start with this one to sort of lay it out. And this is from let's say, what was it? Oh yeah, an encounter at the aerial school Ruwa in Zimbabwe in 1994 with John Mack. A very famous case. I think it's one of the most powerful cases actually there is about UFO encounters, and that's
Seen to work with the children, their parents, and the teachers still suffering from shock. John, who essentially specialized in child psychiatry, devoted a great deal of time to interviewing the children.
Something scared you, is that right?
Yes.
What scared you?
The noise.
What noise?
The noise that we heard in the air.
You heard a noise in the
Yes.
air? What was it like? Like a roar or a buzz or a hum or what kind of a noise?
It was like someone was blowing a flute. It was scary myself.
It was scary because you saw something yourself?
Yes. I saw a little object hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it. We saw something silver, and then we quickly ran to the logs, and we saw a silver thing, and we saw a man standing next to it.
What did it feel like when he was looking at you?
I felt scared.
It felt scared? What was scary about it?
Well, I felt scared because I've never seen such a person like that before.
Did you see the eyes? What did they look like?
They were going like that.
Where was the pointy part? Was the pointy part in here or was the pointy part out there? Up there. And what was the feeling when you looked at the eyes?
It was scary.
And what scary? Why? What made it scary?
The eyes looked evil.
Evil. And what was evil about them? Say what you mean by evil.
It looked evil because it was just staring at me.
With what? Staring at you as if what? As if to do what?
As if it wanted to come and take us.
Yeah, so this is a very, I think it's not even a question if it happens, right? Actually, in that same video, I'll probably play it a little bit later. You can also see the same people when they grew up.
Okay, before
they're
that,
sort of-
can you explain what this clip is all about? Because I understand what they are saying, but I don't know the background of this clip. Which event they are talking about?
Yeah, so in Zimbabwe in 1994, in a school,
okay.
there was a UFO encounter, and these children, they were playing out in the kindergarten, or there's like a play field where they go out and play, and then just across from the trees there landed apparently one or two flying saucers, and aliens came out, and basically 30 or 40 children saw these aliens, and they had like a consistent recollection and report of the event.
Yeah.
And then they sort of ran back into the school, and they told the teachers about what they saw, and and then they were gone. And at that same time, pilots around that area also sort of reported UFO sightings, and of course John Mack went there, and John Mack is or was, I should say, a famous psychiatrist. He's actually a Nobel laureate, prize winner, before he went into researching UFO encounters.
Okay, I got it. I knew about the Zimbabwe one. I didn't know that they were talking about Zimbabwe. So I think I missed that part. Yeah, again, as you said, there is no question that it happened or not, because it did happen. And a lot of kids, because you can make one kid lie. You can't make a lot of kids lie the same thing. They are almost talking about the same thing. So that's crazy. And it's
Yeah.
not like an isolated event. There are so many events like that. There is another event in Portugal, the city of Fatima, but they saw the Mother Mary and stuff.
Yeah, that one, with lots of witnesses. And I think there was also something similar to the aerial phenomena in Australia, but I haven't been able to locate that video. But it's something similar, also a school that got visited by aliens, and with children reporting. It's very, very similar to the aerial phenomena. But I haven't been able to track it down. But we'll play a little bit more of it. Like basically the teachers, they're also in the video. They're sort of corroborating the story from the children. At first, they didn't believe the children, but because the story is consistent, and like you said, like how can these children, just sort of at one particular moment in time suddenly come up with one story that is correct in every
And these
detail.
kids are
And
old now, so they are like proper people, right? And they are still kind
yeah,
of sticking
yeah,
to their story. So there is no point. Like, even if you
yeah,
convince a kid or group of kids to lie, but when they're old, I don't think they will
yeah.
continue. Some of them, at least one of them, will crack and say that okay, that was just like they told us to do something. But I think none of them have changed their story. They're sticking to it. That bring it this that makes this story more credible.
Yeah, and it changed the lives of many of these children in like a fundamental way. And but basically, even when you sort of hear them talk, if you have some sort of experience with human beings, right, you can sort of feel if somebody's lying or if somebody is talking like about a genuine
Hmm.
experience. Like there's also signs of, if you can tell if somebody's lying or not. But to sort of come to your point, like has somebody cracked? There's a Netflix documentary called Encounters, which is brilliant. I recommend everybody to watch it. And they also sort of go back to the Zimbabwe aerial phenomena. Uh, and one of the people there in that documentary is a guy, and he's the only one who tells a different story. I don't know the background of this guy, but he sort of says that he has no idea why all those other children came up with the story about the aliens, but he didn't experience it. And this will be my stepping stone into my theory. So he's the only one who didn't see those aliens. And when you sort of go into these UFO
Hmm.
encounters, first of all, they're bizarre,
Yeah.
right? They don't make many sense. They don't make any sense. They often target individuals and locations, like you say, like why the hell are they going there? Why don't they go to the White House lawn? Why do they target farmers? Why do they target cows? It doesn't add up.
No, no,
It's
I think
really
it
bizarre.
adds up perfectly because first of all, the White House thing, if we know that they are not the real government and there is a shadow government behind it, they are just a puppet. So I'm pretty sure aliens knows that too. So I don't think they will even bother to go to White House. And they will just disclose themselves to the people. And they've been doing it for a while. Remember my recent picture?
Yeah.
Like not the picture, my recent drawing, which is available to mint if anybody want to mint for free. Uh, it was like 1561 event in Nuremberg, and they saw something, but they saw an actual war of the two alien races or two alien armies using the same type of machines, but mostly they saw the yeah exactly this. So they basically saw, and the way it is started that it was a normal day in Nuremberg, and suddenly sky changed, two arcs appeared. Oh, hey, hey, Gerald.
Hey, how you doing?
Nice to see you, man.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah,
continue and
we're
then
yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead, Sid. You were
So
drawing.
yeah, so at the start of the day, this on the sun they see this crazy phenomena that sky changed, and they saw the arcs, which is also called this phenomena sun dog. So they saw the sun dogs, and then they saw these different uh anyway. So then they saw the different spheres, tic tac type of UFOs, other type of UFOs coming in, and they were flying over
Hey, Sid, your microphone is
oh,
failing.
is it?
Yeah, I think okay, it's okay again. Yeah,
Anyway, so
yeah,
the point is they saw an alien battle and then everything just disappeared. But they saw the flying saucers falling on the ground, the smoke was rising, and then this big black triangle appeared and everything just disappeared.
yeah, and that's this painting right here,
This
or
is the
this.
original newspaper painting which inspired me to
Yeah,
do it. So
yeah,
yeah, so a lot of spears, which we know there are spears alien ships, and then after this black triangle appeared, everything just turned back to normal, which also plays into our simulation theory that it was a glitch in the simulation.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
appeared, and then this black
So
triangle fixed everything, and everything went back to normal.
yeah, so that's perfect, because that's actually, you know, sort of my point exactly, because I think that, you know, what when these aliens, when people encounter these aliens and when they have these experiences with these aliens, it is basically like a glitch in the matrix, and they sort of mess up the sort of signal, right? So because, you know, I'm not a big fan of David Icke, and I don't really know his theories, but I think something that he sort of is talking about, if I'm
am
correct,
big
he's
fan
sort
of
of
David Icke.
okay. So then, yeah, okay, so you can sort of fill me in, and, you know, but what I think that he says is sort of like that there's lizard people at the top or whatever, and they hypnotize us,
Mhm.
and we are sort of living in a
No,
simulation of
so
those.
no, he said this Earth is controlled by the reptiles.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
and they project because they have like mind control power, so they don't actually change their shape. They project their shape, and we see what they want us to see. So it's kind of
Yeah.
simulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Okay. Okay. So hold that thought. So basically, whatever, you know, if it's lizard people or mantids or whatever it is, doesn't matter. But they control our perception,
Yes.
right? And they kind of hypnotize
Yeah.
us, and that's, I think, sort of like a real mantis. Like, for example, you can see them doing this here, like, you know, a mantid can actually hypnotize its prey. Wait, I have to show it, of course. It can actually hypnotize its prey so that it doesn't walk away. Right now it's walking away, but it's about to sort of hypnotize it. But like these lizard people or mantids or whatever it is that David Icke is talking about, I think they, like people encountering UAPs, are also mind controlled, because when you sort of listen to these children tell their story about their UFO encounter in the aerial phenomenon, they also talk about glitches, like, you know, these aliens jump from place to place, and the ship is sort of not located in a specific place, and there's sort of like a time dilation, and it sort of messes up with the perception of these children, of perception in general, right? And also with the broadcasting in England that we showed sort of last time, that is sort of blasting through the interference. So what if, because it is already established that, you know, there are multiple non-human intelligences by Colonel Nell, that we are actually sort of under the spell of one particular group of aliens that are sort of casting their spell on us and making us perceive reality in a certain way. And then there are other aliens that are sort of messing up the signal that they're putting out. This is, by the way, from
And so, Carl, here's the $1 million question. Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
Right. So non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
And so, Carl, that is quite a bold statement. I'm wondering, and I'm curious, how confident are you that that is true?
There's zero doubt.
Yeah, that one is a very powerful interview also, and he's not just anybody; he's like a very high up ranking official. So, you know, in a nutshell, that's my theory, and I do have other stuff to back it up. But before we do that, welcome to the show,
Yeah.
Gerald.
How was the game, Gerald?
Tied up 10-10.
Oh,
the close one, but it's halftime, so I figured I'd come in. But the fact that you brought up the praying mantis, and a fact that I've been saying this as somebody who's a cryptozoologist, as a hobby of mine.
Cool.
But look at the cuttlefish, right? Have you ever seen cuttlefish? Like cuttlefish are like octopi times 1,000, right? Like these things can not only hypnotize their prey, they can flash lights, like strobe lights, like guess what? UFOs that people have seen flying all over Earth, right? And they've actually done tests. I don't know if they've done this on the cuttlefish, but they've done this test on octopi. They found that octopi are not of this world, right? So, aliens living on Earth, right? Octopi are alien creatures. Also, in space, they found, tardigrades can live in space, right? Space prawn, right? They found about 10 years ago outside the ISS, these little things that can survive Kelvin temperatures, right? So we already know that life can survive these super cold temperatures, right? -273, right? Like that's insane, right? Nobody's talking about this. These is like mind-boggling stuff, right? Like this, boom, what? Yes, alien life is all around us. Are you paying attention? Yes, look at the cuttlefish. These things are not from Earth, right? There's no other creatures on the planet that can do this stuff right here, right? So we have the cuttlefish, octopi, like I said, and we have multiple things that we've documented that can survive these Kelvin temperatures of space. Going back to the alien stuff, right? There's a report from NASA that's called like SR7122. I always forget the name because it's letters and numbers, and it doesn't have a nice like rhythm to it for me as somebody who's like memorizes patterns. But anyway, this report goes back like literally 600-700 years. We're talking Copernicus is one of the people on this log of phenomenon happening on the moon, right? They're seeing like lights go across like that.
Yeah.
So the report was bought by NASA in the 60s, and they kept a log up until like 70 something, and then they just basically set it to the side. Wonder why.
Yeah, the moon is definitely a separate show, but absolutely.
Oh yeah. My point being is that known that there's been alien phenomenon and documented by some of the most well-respected in the world. Copernicus, right, is in this law of saying, I'm seeing lights dance across the moon, right? So
yeah, and I think it was Kepler or Copernicus who he wrote that tract where he sort of said like that there are, that the witch could fly to the moon, and he sort of used that example of how far the moon was from the Earth, and but yeah, there's really crazy tracks out there from very famous people about the moon, but also about aliens.
Getting back to the simulation, it's not a simulation. Like we were having this discussion a little bit after our show. What we're seeing is you're seeing in these different dimensions, right? As a three-dimensional being, we can't see 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D. But when you are on different frequencies, or if you're taking hallucinogenics that allow you to start to view these different vibrations, then yes, you can start to peel through the veils and start to see these different dimensions. And there's that video of that guy, doing DMT with his buddies, pointing lasers at the walls, and they're starting to see, these different dimensions. And as we were talking about it, if you've read Universe in a Nutshell by Stephen Hawking, it's called peak brain theory, right? Where it's all these dimensions are like slices of paper, right? And eventually, I mean, this is off topic, but just a tangent. if it appears that this theory is true because of the evidence that we're gathering as humans, then yes, we should be able to then distort these layers, right? With, I think, possibly with gravitational wave forces, and then to create our own wormholes, and to do what science fiction has been saying for years, and then to do interdimensional travel, right? This is what I've been saying is all of this science fiction stuff is about to become science reality, and the veils, people are starting to see that we missed a whole block of science from like the 1880s till now, right? I mean, like we were discussing, we go from not knowing what electricity is to discovering electricity to then boom, we're doing nuclear stuff. It's like, whoa, you guys are skipping a whole bunch of steps, jumping right into nuclear fission and fusion, where there's so much to be studied with electromagnetic fluctuations, electromagnetic propulsion systems. I just saw this video today of this guy was taking magnets, and he figured out, he made this almost like a LED light table, and he put this circular magnet on this LED display, and in real time, guess what you could see the magnetic forces on this little like LED table, and it was literally the flower of life, dude.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah. And you got this really famous documentary from what's it, Stephen Greer, about the lost century, where he sort of argues that scientists are either intimidated or bought off or silenced or eliminated.
Yeah.
In order to sort of to keep this a secret, and that Stephen Greer has sort of created this sort of open source public protection program for scientists to sort of to do it that way in order not to get suppressed, and apparently he has had some success doing that, but he sort of records in that documentary how science is repressed. And I just put up the G-Force article from the 50s that, back then they were sort of reporting like, gravity engines are coming, they're here, get ready, it will revolutionize the world. And then suddenly it was gone. All right. And Jesse Michels has done some really good interviews and interviewed some really interesting people in that regard. And they basically said the same thing. Like, there were people working on this stuff, and they're still working on this stuff, but in black projects, right? And Ashton Forbes is basically saying the same thing. So this stuff is all coming out.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time. Like my own research, which goes back like 20 years, as we were discussing, I started to realize that, with the deep depths of space, for these types of, gravitational generators or anti-grav propulsion systems to work, it just didn't make sense to be thinking in exothermic terms, right? Where we're talking about, obviously high energy propulsion systems. And as I was like, just thinking of space, it's like, this just didn't make sense to, to be on that end of the spectrum when we're talking about -273. And as more I started to do research, endothermic reactions in deep space start to make more sense, right? Like, and what I started to realize is helium, right? When you get to liquid helium, it starts to do crazy shit. So if you're familiar with it, there's a formula called the Clausius-Clapeyron theorem. And it's basically the basic gist of that theorem is, if you know how the blade of an ice skate, how that actually works, it's basically like the temperature differential of the blade, right? It melts just enough for you to glide on top of it, right? And that's what like liquid helium starts to do, right? So as soon as I started to figure out all this stuff with liquid helium, I was like, okay, so we need to get liquid helium with magnets, and then the ball started rolling. and I've been doing research on it probably for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. But I think everyone on the other end of the spectrum is going in the wrong direction, right? Like, I've been saying this for years. Like, we're into the space program almost 75 years, and literally we're still strapping people onto a big bomb, right? And we think that's going to get us to the outer universe. Like, come on, Elon knows that that's not possible, right? Like, it's just mathematically not possible. You can't have enough fuel to do what you want to do. We have to do the way we put ourselves out there in space. This is just basic math, right? Does that, you guys can all see that, right?
Yeah.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I think they're sort of drip feeding it to us, right? The sort of the cat is out of the bag. They also know that they can't control information anymore the way that they could. That's also sort of the theory from the internet delusion, the net delusion from what's his name? Anyway, it's a great book, and he's from White Russia, and he defected, or at least he escaped. And he sort of told like how people back there, because of the internet, they sort of push out a lot of garbage, right, to hide the truth by, covering it in BS and disinformation and misinformation and distractions to keep people's eyes off the ball. But it's basically there in plain sight, right? But because they can't hide it anymore, and because of the system is falling apart, and people are stepping out in the open, and the power dynamics are shifting, so people are changing alliances. It's very hard to keep a secret under these conditions. And then there's of course the geopolitical situation where China, Russia, and America are all vying for this technology and trying to prep their populations for accepting it, while they have been hiding it for 50 or 80 years.
But there is one more thing going on recently. Currently, I saw the division in the UFO faction. There's like a group of Stephen Greer and other private guys, and then we have UFO whistleblowers like David Grush, Jeremy Corbell, who's launching them, and then Louis Elizondo. So what's happening? The group of Stephen Greer accusing Jeremy Corbell and Louis Elizondo that they are the government plant to distract people from the real story. So now there's like a civil war started between the big two UFO factions, and one is accusing other. So I don't know.
I think there's multiple factions, right? Because I think disclosure is already happening. There's a certain faction within the government, because Louis Elizondo and all these other guys, David Grush, they've been all cleared by the Department of Defense to talk, and they stay within those limits that are set by the Department of Defense and tell their story to the public. So somebody in the Department of Defense and the intelligence community, in the Inspector General of the intelligence community, basically backs David Grush. So there are elements within the Defense Department that are trying to get this information out there, while it's within regulation or within the rules. So there is a disclosure, like a controlled disclosure is already happening, like that's in full swing. But like you said, like what are they telling us and what are they not telling us? What kind of narrative are they spinning? And they are saying it, they're sort of putting it like, we have to put it in this threat kind of context, like it's a national threat kind of thing, because otherwise we don't get enough traction, and then the government is not interested. So we have to paint it in that light. But then you got the people from the Project Bluebeam crowd who say like, that is sort of the setup for what's coming next. Like, we're fighting Russia now, but the next step is we're fighting aliens and comets and whatnot. So, but yeah, and then there's this faction of real truth tellers like Ashton Forbes and many other courageous people. Dark Journalist is another one who sort of is now sort of silenced because he's too critical. And they are saying like, we have to put everything out there. Like this Salvador Pais, the one that I just showed, he actually works for the Navy, and he basically builds those weapon systems that Gerald is talking about, but he can't sort of tell everything because of his non-disclosure act, right? So he doesn't want to sort of say too much and talk about the exact frequencies that you need to use and all that kind of stuff. But he has done some excellent interviews with Ashton Forbes about sort of these weapon systems. And we've also talked about I think the uncle of Trump, and I actually located this video. So I'm not sure if it's showing. No, it's not showing yet. So this is John G. Trump, and he talks about assessing Nikola Tesla's work after his death because he was, sort of involved.
Never seen.
Would this be evidence of a secret weapon, which I was reminded by the two agents who were present during the entire time, was a matter of concern to the United States. In the course of this, I did come across a number of letters directed at the upper echelon of the British Empire, that is, I think, to the King and Queen, or perhaps just to the King of England, and also to the Tsar of Russia, explaining that he was the inventor of a secret weapon which had rather remarkable properties, and that he would be interested in entering into a negotiation which would lead to a disclosure of what they were. Of course, I spent a good deal of time looking through these papers, trying to find out what the nature of this secret weapon was. I think I had, although I don't remember it so very accurately, an idea of what its properties were. It had the capability of acting at a great distance, of being destructive to flying objects and things of that kind at a place which was remote from the source. But nowhere in his technical papers did I find anything which revealed an explanation of just how such a device could operate.
So this is, I think the uncle of Trump, he's like pretty different from Trump.
No, he's Uncle John. He was talking, like Trump was talking about him also. I think in Joe Rogan podcast or somewhere. I think it's like Trump's uncle.
So he's obviously talking about his Tesla's directed energy weapon that he invented and then scrapped. And then obviously there was plans for it. And if you ever read his autobiography, those plans were supposedly in like a whole bunch of cases that he had laid around his his hotel room that he lived in, and the government came in and took almost all that stuff. So that he's trying to reverse engineer that, and guess what? Sounds like he didn't figure it out. They've had about 50 years, and it doesn't matter because now they're using lasers, right? They're using these super high intensive lasers that they can do whatever.
Well, and then that's another thing, right? I mean, Russell Targ, Puthoff, and many others are who were in the remote viewing sector, but also in these dark projects, these black projects. They all have sort of a laser background. When you sort of look into their background, they're all laser focused on lasers. So that's a very interesting connection. And now you got all these direct energy weapons systems. And we haven't talked about Antarctica yet. We have like a special show, which will probably also be multiple shows, I guess. But there are also some interesting weapon systems in Antarctica, I've been told. So,
yeah, but the story of the direct energy weapon is not just a story, it's a fact. Military is using it. It's not just US military. It's like I recently saw that Iranian military have those things as well. Okay. This is a good show. I start watching it from yesterday.
yeah, the Inside Job. Yeah, but they scrapped it, right? They wanted to do another season. What is it? Raoul Paul was a big fan of Inside Job. And lots of people liked it. I liked it. It was
loved
a cool
it.
show.
I just saw 2 episodes. I'm gonna watch it today more. It is an amazing show. It's like showing everything which we are talking about for a very long time.
it's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna play the clip because those studios are like hawks.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna delete it. So I don't want to get banned
Didn't it get
with
banned,
copyright.
though, that show?
The Inside Job. Yeah, it's a really cool show. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it. It's sort of like a daughter and her father, and her father was sort of running black projects, and he's an alcoholic and crazy. He's yelling and cursing all the
Basically,
time.
they show that they are working for the shadow government, and the
Yeah.
government
And
we
then-
Like, it's
show.
like Black Ops stuff.
No, like the shadow
yeah.
government. Black Ops
Big-
is smaller.
yeah.
They are like bigger. They are showing that reptilians are in their thing, and it's everything. Every conspiracy is
Jellyfish.
mixed in this show.
Yeah. Well, anyway, sort of to come back we were sort of talking about hypnotizing people and how sort of a different alien species might sort of interfere with our perceptual systems and making us see certain things a certain way and hiding other stuff, like, perhaps those reptiles, but definitely the UAP experiences and, their experiences of those UFOs. They don't sort of really see, or the Fatima experience, right? They don't really see reality, or reality becomes deformed. And this person, and I'm sure some of you might know him, but I'm a big fan of Donald Hoffman. And he uses mathematics and evolutionary theory, and it's actually backed up also by science, because they're sort of reaching the same conclusion as he does using different means. But this sort of gives an idea of what he's doing.
Reality is, it's not what you see. What you see is just an adaptive fiction.
The following is a conversation with Donald Hoffman, professor of cognitive sciences at UC Irvine, focusing his research on evolutionary psychology, visual perception, and consciousness. He's the author of over 120 scientific papers on these topics, and his most recent book titled The Case Against Reality: Why Evolution Hid the Truth from Our Eyes. I think some of the most interesting ideas in this world, like those of Donald Hoffman's, attempt to shake the foundation of our understanding of reality, and thus they take a long time to internalize deeply. So proceed with caution. Questioning the fabric of reality can lead you to either madness or the truth. And the funny thing is, you won't know which is which.
He's absolutely right by that way. Lex Fridman is really smart, but basically genius people are often also crazy, right? Because as soon as you sort of go out to the outer edges from what is considered normal or normative, then you're sort of breaking new ground, and you're apparently a genius for doing that. But then, because you're so far ahead of the troops, you also don't know anymore what's real and what's not, right? Because you don't have that baseline anymore. You're actually shifting the baseline, so there's no baseline to connect to, right? So madness and genius are actually really close connected, and people who go mad are probably people who completely lose touch with the baseline of reality. So, but that also has to do with perception, and this one is probably a little bit more in depth about what he's about.
Their perceptions are real as perceptions, right? They are. We are having our perceptions, but we've assumed that there's a pretty tight relationship between our perceptions and reality. If I look up and see the moon, then there is something that exists in space and time that matches what I perceive. And all I'm saying is that if you take evolution by natural selection seriously, then that is precluded. That our perceptions are there. They're there to guide adaptive behavior, full stop. They're not there to show you the truth. In fact, the way I think about it is they're there to hide the truth, because the truth is too complicated.
Yeah, so basically what he's saying, and he's using these mathematical models and simulations that they developed, and then they sort of took the basics or the basic ideas of evolution, and then they ran these simulations, And what they found out is that that evolution leaves no room for the truth. So there's only sort of like the logic and probability that sort of has to be there in order to guide selective adaptive fitness payoffs to be able to select them. But sort of your whole perceptual system, like what you see and what you hear and what you feel, all that kind of stuff, that is totally sort of irrelevant to evolution. Like that, the evolution doesn't care if you can actually perceive reality as it is.
No, but
Actually, like he says, it's hiding reality.
yeah, but that
And
is making case against evolution and for creation. So if this is all an illusion, then it's more likely that a creator made us to not see them. Because if you're evolving in this environment, you will rather adopt than avoid it. Because most of the humans don't see the reality around us. And I'm not talking about like psychedelic thing. I'm talking about actual light and sound. So we have a little spectrum to hear, and we have a light spectrum as well. We don't see beyond that light, but we know that light exists. For example, ultraviolet and infrared, that is the actual reality. Even just based on light and sound, you can see that you're not seeing the full picture. That doesn't look like an evolutionary adoption, but it more look like somebody created humans to be enslaved in these spectrum. So that's more for a creation point of view. That's my opinion, but let's see.
yeah, but also, right, if your perception is limited and if you're actually not able to see reality as it is, then like a superior species or a non-human intelligence which has like a broader bandwidth, that they can see more than you can see, they can easily manipulate and guide you, right? I mean, because our perception is so limited. Like, it's the same thing if you
Exactly.
hold a cat or a dog.
No, but that
Then
still shows that
no,
someone created us to be that limited. Not we are not evolved independently because somebody want to
right.
control us, like alien race. I'm not talking about God. I'm just talking about some alien race restricted us, created us in a way that we are limited, so we can be controlled for whatever reason.
Yeah, but it could also simply be that you're sort of interacting with a superior species which sort of took advantage of our blind sides, right? And there might be multiple non-human intelligences that have like broader capabilities, much broader capabilities than we do, and we are very easily manipulatable.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing: we are the most advanced civilization as we know on Earth. We are very highly evolved. So if they are
On Earth.
involved independently in their environment, which is very similar to Earth, because universe is the same, more or less, right? So if they have developed that kind of like senses, so we probably should have too. So it looks like we have been restricted. So there is a possibility that somebody out there either fuck with our evolution and make us limited, or somebody actually created us for some purpose,
No,
which also is
but
in
for
the
example,
simulation theory, that they created the simulation just to see something, just to test something, or
but
just to create a video game or whatever.
We're
go
we're
ahead.
stopping our evolution, right? Like, the reason why, like, and I share the story. I'll even share it in public. DMT is released when you have dreams, but when you do take it, you are activating parts of your brain that are never activated, right? We've been blocking our pineal gland for centuries by polluting ourselves with alcohol, tobacco, meat, dairy. The list is endless. We keep polluting our system with. And again, if you stop to do that and meditate and start to focus these energies, you can do stuff that most humans think are science, right? We're talking about telekinetic powers. We're talking about the ability to possibly, get clouds to form together, right? These are things of science fiction, but if you take the time and again clear your body, mind, spirit, and meditate. Guess what? They don't want us to know that we can be higher beings, because then you're going to see more stuff that they don't want you to see, and you're going to tell people, and then it disrupts all their systems, right? This is, again, going back to the theory that Bitcoin is from God, right? It is shedding the light on lots of things that they don't want the light to be shed on, right? Bitcoin does that, right?
Because Bitcoin is like the first. We never had an alternative to the current system, right? And Bitcoin is like putting everything in stark contrast, because for the first time in sort of human history, you actually have an alternative to a system that we've been grown so used to, and that it puts that system in stark contrast, and you can suddenly see the features of that system, and you can see it's like one giant control, and what you call it? It subtracts energy and it sucks the energy out of us, right? It's, that is what it does. It's a control grid, and it takes energy out of us. And Bitcoin sort of makes it able for you to see what it actually is. It's like a giant control grid.
Transform all of this energy that's being used in the world to be more effective, more efficient, and again, it's a more just money, right? Like that whole ECB paper is the biggest scam, right? They're trying to say it's unfair. Yeah, no, your inflation scam is unfair, right? It creates, how many times I've got to push this phrase that I came up with, economic colonialism, right? To all these, developing countries, from the list is endless. When the dollar rides high to their paper currency, how is that not fair? Bitcoin fixes that problem right there. El Salvador is proving it, hands down.
Sid, you shared something with me, I saw in my mailbox.
Oh yeah, when we were talking about Stephen Greer.
Okay, it's an old one. Okay, well, I'll pop it up.
But yeah,
do you want to say something?
There's this like internal civil war thing going on. Elucidate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, and what you said about DMT. I mean, Sid and me, we are still gonna do a DMT show, or at least a psychedelic show, I should say, because it's more accurate. But I totally agree. Like, when you sort of take certain drugs like psychedelics, who knows, right? They sort of say that you turn inward, and that's sort of why you see the colors and all that kind of stuff. But it could also just as well see that you actually see more of reality than you can actually see without it, right? That you can actually see more of reality.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If we are in a simulation, which we are likely, then what is the purpose of the simulation? It looks like there are two players who are trying to control this world. Just think of this reality or this world as a chess board, and they are playing their moves. So, for example, the original. So Bitcoin, as you talked about, that it is waking up from the system and it's an alternative. It's not an alternative. It is the original system. We were not designed for the bank system. We were designed for the own custody and everything. But somehow one player got dominated, took our ability to hold our own currencies and introduce this banking system to be a winner for the particular time period, and then another player introduced Bitcoin, so we can go back into the original one or back on this side. So it's like a war between good and evil, let's say, or two players are fighting, and this simulation is just fucking with us. Sometimes they introduce banking, sometimes they introduce Bitcoin, and one player is trying to dominate other, and we are just the pawns.
And one is the Extra Galactic Federation, right?
Yeah.
Like something's going on for real, because just breaking a couple, like 5-6 hours ago, is and I haven't confirmed it, but I did watch the video. They former president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, was somebody tried to take him out. And I don't know if somebody got hurt. I don't know if it was driver or if him or if both, but there was blood in the vehicle and there was multiple rounds shot through the windshield. So something's going on, right? There's obviously
Yeah, but also, I mean, people forget, but there were 2 assassination attempts at Trump, right? I mean, that's not, so one is crazy, but
That's what
2 in a
it's
row
starting
is
to spread,
bizarre.
right? Like they don't want us to know stuff, right? When that's going on, they want those people to be gone for a reason, right? They're trying to tell us something. Usually is the case. And I don't know if
And
Evo Morales was, for South America, right? They believed in the aliens and UFOs a lot more, and
Yeah.
North America did for many years, right? Just look at Mexico and Brazil and Bolivia and all these other countries where their news talks about it on like a monthly basis since like the 80s, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I'm just saying that that's weird that, another former president, and let's be clear, this is a trend that started a couple of years ago with the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, right? So he unfortunately did lose his life. Now,
yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
that's, we're seeing, I think, the peak of that chart, right, come into play right now. But what it has to do with, I couldn't tell you. I just know when I see like moves like this happening, stuff's going down. I mean, it's
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think as the system sort of breaks down influence or sort of perception management or public relations, that sort of starts to falter and it fails, and people start seeing through the matrix as all the networks start sort of repeating the same talking points, and it becomes kind of obvious. Like if you take a step back and you clear your head, or you go out into nature and you come back and you look at your television set that looks kind of outlandish or crazy or weird, but sadly many people are sort of mesmerized with it. But then the next step is of course force, right? That is how these sort of systems then sort of keep people together. It's like if perception management doesn't work anymore, and the growing pie starts to shrink, then the next step is, of course, starting to use force. Only force is very inefficient and it's very costly, and it usually doesn't last because it doesn't weigh up to the benefits. But then you sort of start taking out people, willy-nilly. Everybody sort of who brings something out in the open that that you don't want, or certain politicians who take a country into a different direction, and they simply have to be taken out, right? But you can also see that they're faltering because they can't even do that anymore, right? That they can't even take out their phones, like they're even messing that up.
Again, it's like Siddharth was saying, we're starting to see the good and evil play out, and there's a lot of people that don't believe in this dichotomy, right? They think it's baloney stuff, but it's not. It is falling right before our eyes, right? And and it's the video of this is why he's not a part of the Democratic Party, right? Guys to use lethal force on Americans. Yeah, this is not a lie.
Biden-Harris administration has done something 2 weeks ago that has never been done in American history, which is to send exactly lethal force, to send a directive to the Pentagon, changing the law to make it legal for the U.S. military to use lethal force against American citizens on American soil.
Well, that's bizarre, right? I mean, I was really shocked when I saw that news.
That is insane. Like you're literally talking about martial law right now. If things don't go according to their plan, they will impose a martial law. And then you remember from very long time hearing about the conspiracies of martial law. Now it is looking like that conspiracy is coming to its fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, we're seeing Hollywood fall right before our eyes. And it's, people are confused, right? Like they don't want to put any more out because it'll make them more confused. But stop idolizing these scumballs, right? Like Yeah, most of the pawn, like even though Siddharth's kind of right, we are pawns, but most of the pawns on the board are more pure than all of the slime balls run in Washington and run in Hollywood, right? Um, and yeah, it's playing out right before our eyes. It's good and evil, from a geopolitical form to Hollywood to everything in front of your eyes. And I had a conversation with a gentleman who thought he was crazy because he was having these thoughts. I'm like, dude, you're not crazy. Look at just the world around you, and you can see we're in like apocalyptic times, right? I tell people, look at a map. So one of the most popular apps in the Pacific Northwest, it's not one of the most popular apps in the United States, but one of the most popular top 5 apps in the PNW is an app called Watch Duty. And it basically monitors the wildfires. So, if one pops up, gives you an alert, right? Open that app. If you can download it. I don't think you can download it because you don't get, it's probably not, you can't do it in Europe. But if you can download the app, download it and open it up, and look how many fires are around. Still to this day, it's October almost. It's almost Halloween in like 4 or 5 days, right? And there's still dozens and dozens of wildfires around me, right? Nobody talks about this, right? The world's on fire. Everything's fine.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, that, and that also ties back to the directed energy weapons, of course, because some people are saying like target practice or worse, like that they need real estate, build back better, right? Yeah. The only way to build back better is you first have to make some room in order to build, right? I mean, that's sort of
into frequencies and dimensions. Well, like again, it all comes back to lasers, right? So the new thing is, if you go to Google Earth, so there's a whole bunch of people in China that are painting their roofs blue, right?
Yeah.
Because
I don't think it's gonna work.
At frequency. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm saying that blue top, I don't think it's gonna work. It's just like something they started it. I don't think blue color has stopped any lasers.
No,
The idea, it does?
Yeah, there's actually the physical evidence, empirical data. So like I've seen people do this in real-time experiments as well, where they'll take like a couple of balloons, they'll point a laser at the blue balloon, it will not pop. Red balloon pop, yellow balloon pop. Yeah. This isn't baloney, right? This is all science, and it all has to do with, there's something to do with blue's frequency is a shield, right? So this is not malarkey. This is science. Right.
Oh, that's interesting, because last week we talked, or last time we talked about the color blue, right? That color blue sort of is showing up in all these sort of, or in many of these encounters with alien beings, like that they're blue beings. Actually, I just saw one recently with Ross Coulthard, where he interviewed a lady who worked for the intelligence community, and she's actually a medium.
Yeah, she talked
like
about
a
the
medium.
blue color as well.
Yeah, but not only the color. She actually said, like, there was this like blue being which was like 7 foot tall, and he was sort of pacing in my room with a crystal sword. And I looked at my cat, and my cat was okay with it. And then I thought, okay, then it's probably good, and I'm going back to sleep. But she worked like in a high office for the intelligence community, and she was on what's called her show. I don't have the clip here ready with me, but that was a blue being.
There's like a alien race
like you said,
called blue avian. It's like also in the conspiracy world that they are the very good guys who are trying to help us to come out of this matrix.
Yeah, and for example, Racer Giorgiani, you're not so big fan of him, but I think he's kind of brilliant. But his near-death experience, where he sort of shoots out of his foot and sees his future self die in the American Civil War, by the way, which is very interesting. He also experiences, like, when he sort of enters that void, it's blue. It's like a blue color, and but basically everybody's talking about sort of blue download, blue this, blue
I
that.
can vouch myself for that, because on my psychedelic trip, it was always starting from the blue medium to violet to ultraviolet. So that is like the predominant colors on my personal psychedelic journeys.
And think about it, right? The human eye is the only eye on the planet that can discern 10,000 different shades of green, and that's due to evolution. Back to evolution, right? And when you do take some of these psychedelics, you are unlocking like parts of your brain that can see the frequencies, right? You can see ultraviolet spectrums. You can see spectrums you have not been involved in, but when you take DMT or you do take acid or psilocybins or whatever, you're giving your body is you get a shot of adrenaline. If you've ever taken like a huge shot of adrenaline, and then you're boom, you feel different parts of your brain unlock, and then when you're going to much more easily. That's just
Yeah, your connection is a little bit faltering there, but I think we could sort of follow the conversation. But that's and also wanted to point out this before I forget it. Sort of a little bit off topic right now, but this was like just came in today that there's a breakthrough technique could reveal alien communications between planets. It sort of just came out today.
Again, it has to. I mean, this is one of the first things that people have to realize. Like we've discussed that, there are different types of life forms, but they're basically like we haven't intelligent life. Or I think what I should first going to have to see is some kind of signal because they're everywhere. We're putting them out all the time, so somebody else has to be putting them out. And if they are some sonic frequency or subsonic level or at atomic level encoded at the the base atomic level, I don't know, but they have to be out there, right? It's just, if we're going to prove higher life forms exist, one of these signals has to come through. And if they are saying they are about to find one, this is the pinnacle of
And last show there was also this news that within a few weeks, and they sort of said like when Kamala wins, there will be sort of like a disclosure about a possible alien signature that they found probably somewhere out in space, and that they were sort of vying with the Chinese who would push out that information first.
Yeah.
But there's another interesting thing because they also planned the next UAP hearings for Congress just after the election. So I think it's around the 10th of November or something. And they said it's still open, but it is sort of planned right after the elections. So are they sort of thinking that, a certain person will win and then, we'll do those disclosures?
If Kamala wins, nothing gonna happen. There won't be any disclosure. Everything will go back to the normal for next 4 years. If Trump wins, then we probably see some kind of disclosure. So they are waiting to see who can win right now. Because Trump is not just Trump himself, but the people surrounding Trump right now are more into these kind of conspiracies. For example, Joe Rogan is now in the Trump's party, Elon Musk, and all other people who are always interested in this question, like, is there something out there? Are there aliens? And Trump is himself in his podcast said that some people told him that there are spheres which were following the jet pilots, which I think is a different event he's talking about, because other ones were Tic Tacs or gimbal, but a sphere is a new thing. So I think we will see those disclosures if Trump wins. If Kamala wins, everything is gone back to normal and we are slave for another 4 years.
Because Trump, go on.
Oh, sorry, we missed you. Your connection was breaking up, Gerald. We didn't hear you.
Oh, I said and more inflation.
And more inflation.
Oh yeah. Way more inflation, yeah. As far as I can see. Yeah. That's probably already heading our way end of this year. But that's
going to happen either president.
Print
more, right? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Kamala's going to print more. I just don't know how much more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, what was it last week? You also had the European Central Bank who finally came forward and said, Bitcoin might actually reach a 20x from here. Basically what BlackRock is also predicting, that they put Bitcoin and Michael Saylor at $11 million a coin. Something along those lines. I think I got it here somewhere. So that's interesting that they sort of came out with that news. And
Hey,
then
it's not. Yeah,
20x? No, I don't think, because if 20x, for example, then what is their market cap right now? It's 1.4 trillion. So that has to be 28 trillion market cap to reach 20x from here for Bitcoin. So I don't know if it's possible. I don't think we even have that kind of money to put it into Bitcoin.
Well, the European Central Bank thinks so.
Yeah.
They're running the printing
No,
press.
but
So.
there is also a math, right? Because a lot of people don't understand those things. We do. So we know how impossible that is for Bitcoin to reach 20x from here. But new people don't understand those things. And in order to control them, okay, go put money and your money will be 20x, banks can lie. So if they are saying it, I don't trust them. I want to see the math. Is it possible? But it is possible that it can reach up to 5 to 10 trillion market cap, but 28
Yeah,
trillion is like a lot.
Yeah, but the point is, BlackRock is certainly thinking that it will go way higher than it is now. Otherwise,
It's
they wouldn't
definitely
go
gonna go up.
long.
It's definitely gonna go up, but 20x is like, okay, you need to see the math as well. Unless dollar
I'm trying to
crash,
find it.
unless dollar crash really bad, that's a whole different story. We are talking about if dollar go 200x down, then we are going 200x up on Bitcoin. But other than that, I don't know how it is possible.
Oh, weird. I thought I put it up, but yeah, I can't find it.
Also,
Maybe
banks and obviously ETF holders have about almost $100 billion locked up in Bitcoin. So that protects some of America's wealth.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why it's slowly going to take over everything. And the people at the end, you're not going to get the generational wealth effects. But the good part is you can pay your bills instantly, right? Again, I've used this story, I don't know how many times over the last 3 or 4 years, right? The guy from El Salvador used to take a day off from work, get a bus for like an hour one way, go to San Salvador, wait in line for 3 hours, right? Get back on the bus, pay for the bus both ways just to pay his phone bill. If they adopted the Lightning Network, he could do it from his literally living room. Click, done. You see how much money that guy's saving? The guy's saving, literally, he's losing 12 days of work a month. That's probably a couple of paychecks, right? Groundbreaking stuff. And most of the world is clueless because they don't realize that paper money's been around for 800 years, right? I tell this story, right? It's been around for 800 years. It took 500 years to get to Europe, right?
Yeah.
About that, right? Bitcoin is done more in 15 years than gold did in 2000.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, this is the one of the articles that reported it. This European Central Bank says Bitcoin price at 10 million is plausible.
It's not.
But there's a price.
It's not. 10 million is not even 20x. That's 200x.
Not this, but yes, it is possible. Not this cycle.
No, I don't think you need to listen to for 10 million. Right now it's at 65k or something, right? And the market cap is 1.4 trillion. Now going to 10 million is insane. I don't even calculate right now. I need to use calculator to calculate the market cap for that. Well, it's going to be a lot. Either they're gonna burn a lot of Bitcoin. They reduce the supply from 18 million to like 1 million, then probably, but I don't know how that's gonna happen, because that's 1 million possible, but 10 million is too much. That's
Well,
my.
let me explain how it can be possible. So
Okay.
capital goods, when they start taking capital goods like Saudi Aramco, Russia's already announced that they're going to start doing this, right? So that means as soon as Russia does it, that means China's going to do it. That means that Saudi Arabia will do it. That means the UAE will do it. So as soon as people start just paying for, literally to buy Bitcoin, to buy other goods, think about it. It's somebody's going to turn on their money printer just for what they're doing, right? Michael Saylor doing it, with him doing his debt little, his little AAA debt scheme that he's going on. As soon as a country figures this out, that's bigger than El Salvador, bigger than Bhutan, let's say it's like France, they're going to start printing. Somebody's going to do it. They're just going to start buying Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, and buying Bitcoin, and buying Bitcoin. Call them out on it, right? Because who's going to call you? No one is, especially if you're not like the U.S. or Russia. As long as you're not one of the top 5 powers, nobody's going to call you out on it. And again, people are start giving you oil for Bitcoin, or you just give you the oil on loan, right? There's a whole but different way to happen. And let's be clear, Bitcoin hasn't done its move, right? It already has it sucked up all the capital that it needs. It's just being suppressed because
the future
don't want to get wrecked. They've already lost like $700 million. They're trying to protect the other 700, 800 million shorts that they don't get burnt. But Bitcoin doesn't give a crap, right? It's going to make its move, and I'm pretty sure it's next week. I don't know if it's Halloween or before the election. I hope it's pre-election because it sends a very clear signal to the world that Bitcoin does not care who the president of the United States is, right? I hope it's 85, 95, whatever. But yeah, it could go to 10 million, but it's not happening. I said 300 to 105, somewhere in there.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing about the whole oil thing. The plan of BRICS is not to use Bitcoin. They have a plan to use their own BRICS currency on a blockchain. So it won't be Bitcoin they will be using as a trade. They are creating their own currency to do it. So it is so their focus will be to focus on their own currency, which I'm gonna buy. The moment they're gonna release it on blockchain, I'm buying that. I think that can go up a lot. And probably Bitcoin can go to 1 million, which is my estimate. I think, but that is for next 2 or 3 cycle after. I don't after 2 or 3 cycles. 10 million, I don't know when it's gonna happen. Maybe in 2060 or something.
Yeah, 2040, 2030, whatever. It all depends on when this hash war that's already started. Hash war has been going on for some time, ever since Russia said we're mining, right? And Texas isn't going anywhere, right? Texas knows what's going on. They know what's going on with China. They know that China's still mining. They have legitimate miners that are still mining, and only a matter of time, right? TEPCO figured out the equation, right? I've been saying for 2 years. Once people start to figure out Bitcoin is the carbon credit, the capture credit, whatever you need it to be, when you need it to be, the game's over. And TEPCO is now taking that big solar farm that it doesn't make them money because they can't transmit nobody energy. Well, guess what? Mining. And it's only going to take a couple of quarters for TEPCO to figure out, holy shit, we can do this with everything. Correct. You're going to see Japan's economy go woo like this over the next 10 years. There's my new crystal ball prediction.
I hope that happens, man. I'm really excited for that.
But the problem is, of course, right? The first big country that it does brings the other countries into big trouble, right? If they haven't prepared and mined sufficient Bitcoin, because that country goes to the moon, and the others are sort of left in the dust. So
always happens. Again, how many other of these analysts like us out there, from very wealthy multimillionaires to the little people like us, have said this is this is digital gunpowder, right? If you do not adopt, right, you will get blown out of the water. This is a fact. I'm not the only person to say this. And Bitcoin is that. It is the next evolution of money. It can do what you need it to do when you need it, right? It's like I said, that little guy down in El Salvador needs to pay his bill. He's using the Lightning Network. It's cash to him, right? Who's using it? It's a transmission, a distribution credit, right? They can't distribute that solar power when they need it. Oh, now it's a distribution credit. Methane, when they capture it off of a dump where they capture,
Yeah.
now it's a capture credit, right? So again, it can be whatever you need it to be when you need it, and that's why the best money ever in the history of the human world. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
No, I agree. And, Van Middelkoop on the Bitcoin conference Amsterdam, he was sort of talking more about gold and Buiting also. And they sort of said, like, you can see that all these central banks are sort of buying gold massively in order sort of to prepare for the new system. And they want sort of the gold to be sort of equally distributed among the players in order to sort of stabilize the system, because once fiat gets out of control, you can sort of rein it back in with gold. But the same thing, I think you can argue, is happening with Bitcoin, right? All these countries are secretly mining Bitcoin and doing exactly the same thing with gold, only with Bitcoin. And at the same time, America doesn't want to go on the Bitcoin standard just yet, because why would they, right? They have the ultimate weapon, the dollar, right? Why throw away your ultimate weapon when you can still use it and collect more Bitcoin?
And
right?
is right that the BRICS is going to make their own digital currency, right? It's coming, but at the same time, we've seen time and time again the CBDC, yes, people use them as tools, but they're not things you want to save in long term. Almost every CBDC that has come so far has an expiration date marked on the digital node itself. So again, they have geofence, expiration dates, the list of controls, and Bitcoin doesn't have those controls. And as more and more of the figures that out, I tell people, do you want to be saving in something that can expire, or do you want to be saving in something that can never?
Yeah, but and for the countries, there's a big dilemma, right? Because a country's basically its most powerful weapon is the money system that they can control. So if you adopt Bitcoin, like if you adopt a pure Bitcoin standards, then you basically also give up that power that you have.
That's the thing, is that's the biggest problem I think governments are facing, right? They fear giving up a portion of their control, but when you do this, right, you're going to then give yourselves freedom and more power in different areas, right? As soon as you decentralize your monetary network, then so many things change, right? Like I've said, with all my theories that we talked about, right? Taxes can be gone, right? Now you got Donald Trump talking about eliminate income taxes, stealing my thunder for 2028. Right? So this can be done, right? Because it's all built to the Bitcoin network, right? The miners get a share. Anytime a transaction's done, the inflation schedule is set forever, right? It's all programmed, so nobody can mess with it. Makes it like gold is that there's nobody can put their finger on the scale, right? There's nobody that can put some whatever beryllium or lead to that, fake that gold bar, right? That's one people don't realize is that we haven't even discussed is Bitcoin purity, right? Like you can dilute Bitcoin like gold, right? Can you have 24 karat gold, right? You can have, 24, 17, or 16,
14.
14. There's so many variations of gold, but pure gold is 24 karat. Well, guess what? When you buy Bitcoin, it's always 24 karat Bitcoin. You're never going to get diluted Bitcoin, right? Unless, it's this wrapped, hypothecated crap on some other network, right?
It's but that's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is has to be on the Bitcoin chain. Otherwise,
I agree. I mean, all you're doing is you're pretending it's Bitcoin, and you just you put a price oracle that matches Bitcoin to that.
Exactly.
That's all you're doing, right? It's not Bitcoin.
Satoshi Vision.
Yeah. Again, it's all that stuff is just people, and I've heard even Bitcoin Jesus say this himself, right? Like, he eventually came out a couple years ago, and he's like, I don't want to spend my Bitcoin. That's why I want to use Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, thanks. Saying that for 4 or 5 years. That's the whole point of your shitcoin, is you don't want to spend your Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's Gresham's law. So basically, in effect, right? That's happening everywhere, right? They're all saving in Bitcoin and spending fiat. And even BlackRock is sort of trying to build a prison system by, using fiat to do it and buying Bitcoin in order to sort of, hopefully, in their eyes, control the new monetary system. But I think they simply can't, right? It's too big. So
we almost pushed a zettahash, right? My prediction at the beginning of the year is about to come true, right? I said the Bitcoin network would push past a zettahash. Was 1 sextillion calculations per second. This is insane level energy, insane level security. So again, anyone who was afraid of what Saylor was saying or BlackRock's attempting to do, until they get in the mining community, I am worried not one iota, right? Because what are they going to do? They can't do shit. They can't even fork anything until they start mining, or they build another chain and say, this is the chain, and no one's going to use it.
Yeah. So how are we gonna tie this back to simulation theory?
Oh, because Bitcoin is the ultimate digital simulation money, right? Like, so if you're in the VR world or you're in the real world, you can use Bitcoin. So you can use Bitcoin in outer space. You can use Bitcoin in this dimension, other dimensions, every dimension. There you go.
To wrap it all up. So do you have anything to add?
No, that's it. And we are over time anyway, so let's end it.
Yeah, and it ties also nicely to the broadcast interruption from last time, where they sort of warned us that in the future, in the age of Aquarius, and some people say that we sort of entered a few years ago, 2014, something around that, and it's, of course, it's unclear when it sort of happened, but that there will be this point that our money will be extracted from us and we get worthless dross in return. So it might have been a prediction from the future. And well, let's end on that note.
Bye.
Okay.
Pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.